All right, welcome to the inaugural episode of First in the Big Ten. I'm Robert Jones.
Leland Lothus. We're going to talk about, bring a show to you every week. We're going to talk about our favorite conference,
The Big
Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, Midwest, baby.
And just break down every game. There's not a lot of shows where they just talk about the Big Ten. We watch all the games anyway. So
Right, we just want to focus on just our conference. It's a little bit more meaningful to us than the rest of the conference. Not the other conference, they're not meaningless, but it's just like we're from Columbus, Ohio, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we just want to focus on just the teams in that conference for right now instead of trying to go all in depth about everybody.
We talk about the regular media, national media.
Right.
They're going to talk about the major teams, but there's a lot of teams in our conference that we watch week to week that I enjoy.
Right.
That aren't going to get talked about as much. Like a team like Iowa, they're not going to get talked about as much as I think they should, and they had a great year last year. So we're going to watch these games anyway. We like the conference, and we're going to have fun with it.
All right, so we're going to start. It's kind of ironic. The first thing we say is the Big Ten, talk about the Big Ten. The first thing we're going to talk about is, did you watch that game between Hawaii and Cal?
I did. Because I'm a diehard college football fan anyway. I get very little done on a course of the season, especially on Saturdays. Usually that's the day I do stuff around the house.
All right.
All that moves to Sundays. I watch little NFL, but college football's my sport. Best sport in the world, in my opinion.
All right, so the game came on, 10 o'clock at night?
It was a late game.
Late game. Well, at least we're Eastern Standard Time, so
it was late.
Our time, 10 o'clock p.m.
I set up and watched it. I was pumped. I thought it was a pretty good atmosphere for the game. Being in Australia and everything, it was pretty good. It was a good first half.
Yeah.
It was good just to see college football live on television again.
Right.
But I'll actually say the FCS game, which I've said for a long time, I think the FCS should start 2 weeks early just to everyone watch FCS football, give it that exposure. Right. I think on the end of that, and when the playoffs come around, I think a lot more people are going to be more interested in the FCS because
too many games for a small amount of time slots, man. You can't have everybody playing on the same time because that's why we kind of want to focus on just the Big Ten because there's so many teams that are decent, if not good in the conference that you just don't notice. Iowa just had the quietest 12-0 season I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even really talk about it much because all they talk about is the Alabamas and the Ohio States and
And I think a lot of people had looked into that season. They didn't give them the respect they deserve because, they didn't have a hard schedule. But 12-0 at Iowa, if you look at from Iowa's, their tradition, they've never went undefeated. Even Hayden Fry rebuilt that program.
Right.
Iowa wasn't going undefeated. And that, I think sometimes even everyone who's not in Iowa kind of talked down about them. And I think some of their fan base didn't even appreciate it. They looked at it as a fluke. And you can't look at it that way.
And even
they
if it
almost
was a
won
fluke,
the Big Ten championship.
Even if it was a fluke, you still want to enjoy the perfect season.
Yeah, well, I say it was an exciting season.
Week,
they had so many great games went down the wire, and I can't even really say it was a fluke because Michigan State drove down the field last possession of the game, or they would have been Big Ten champions.
They were 1 minute away from being 13-0 Big Ten champions.
Everyone remembers the last game they played, which wasn't how they wanted it to end, but I mean that happens to everybody.
Right.
But it happens. But we're going to talk about lots of teams of the Big Ten, from the teams that aren't expected to do anything. We're going to watch these games. I'm just glad college football's back.
All right, you can't take much about the last game because the year before last when Oklahoma beat Alabama, and then Alabama comes back and wins the national championship.
A couple years ago.
So you can't really base it off that. Iowa had a great season, and it should be recognized, and people should take notice. And it's not just a two-team race anymore in the Big Ten. You got Ohio State, you got Michigan, who's on the verge of coming back. You got Michigan State, who's definitely here, and as they proved last year, they're the team to beat now. They beat Michigan, they beat Ohio State last year, they beat Iowa, they beat the top teams in the conference. They were Big Ten champs, so it's like, hey, time to take notice and put a little bit more emphasis on these 14 teams that we got in front of us. So.
Because not all these teams are going to compete for the playoff. A lot of these teams are going to compete for maybe a West crown.
Right.
And that still means something. I mean, there's so many games on throughout the day. You can't only watch the ones where people say are important. You got to enjoy the games for what they are. They're all important for different reasons. A game in the middle of the season might be different for Illinois as compared to Ohio State because they're not playing for the same, but they might be playing for something important to them. So you just got to enjoy the games. The 4 months flies by fast enough as it is. We got to sit here and enjoy all the games.
Especially a lot of these teams, they have – let's be real. Everybody doesn't play 12, 14 of the toughest opponents every week in college football.
No.
some of these big name teams that we're tuning in to watch, like Ohio State and the Michigans and Michigan States, they're going to have some easy games. That's when you want to be able to appreciate a Purdue versus Illinois game, because that plays a lot of value in the Western Conference, because these teams, they're not just pushovers anymore. A lot of them are rebuilding. A lot of them got some new coach hires that we're probably going to focus on a little later.
Yeah, a lot of new storylines. I mean, look, another reason, going back to Iowa for a minute, just because I've been following them a lot. I've been listening to some local podcasts just talking about Iowa, just getting a feel for Iowa rather than trying to stay away from the national stuff, because they're only going to talk about certain teams.
Right.
They just tear teams down a lot of the time. And I think another reason that made that season special for 12-0 wasn't just going 12-0, but just going the fact that they did win all them close games. And some of them might have been against some of the teams they were expected to beat, but you go through and win all them games at the end of the game like that, that's hard to do.
Right.
It's hard to be that fortunate at the end of the game all the time. They earned it. Like, a lot of times you're going to lose one of them close games. I don't care who you are. And to be able to win all 12 of them, it's just an amazing season. And I'm really interested to see especially what they can do, bounce back, because they might actually be a better team this year. They might not have the same record just because you're not going to pull all them close games out, but they're still going to have a great season. And that West, this is the East got a lot of the big names, but the West, I think, is going to be the funnest race just because it's going to be so close. But
speaking of those big names, the two biggest names in the Big Ten are probably Jim Harbaugh and Urban Meyer.
As of right now, yep.
Harbaugh is getting all the attention, while Urban is the one. He's winning in recruiting. He's winning on the field. He won the head-to-head battle last year. So, what do you want to? What are you most looking forward to in Urban Meyer versus Harbaugh Part 2 this year?
Well, I think the rivalry. Now, there's some people out there say, like I heard Corso say the other night, Harbaugh's Meyer's worst nightmare. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't get that.
When he just beat him.
Yeah, it's like, is he going to be competition? Absolutely. Yeah. D'Antonio's not going anywhere. A lot of people are throwing them to the side, but we'll get to that here in a minute.
D'Antonio's the one that's actually beating him.
Yeah.
Why isn't he the worst nightmare?
The way I look at Harbaugh is he's getting Michigan back. He's already getting them back, and he's recruiting, and he's a great coach. The rivalry is going to be great for years to come. I'm not going to sit here and say that Myers already should be scared of him when he beat Alabama and SEC country. He's not going to be scared anyway. I as a Big Ten fan, I'm glad the competition. I'm glad that's the greatest rivalry in sports.
Right.
Alabama-Auburn fans can argue all they want. It's the best rivalry in sports, period. To me, so I'm glad it's back. I'm glad it's going to be – them games are going to be – the way I look at it, he's bringing Michigan back. He's put them on the map. He's done it in a variety of ways, all kinds of ways, and he's got them talking about him. All you hear about is Harbaugh. And now it's showing because a lot of teams are getting – people are getting behind him, picking him, and they're getting recruits. So, but to say that he's scared, no. I think Urban, he went in there and took care of business last year. He's on pace to maybe sign one of the toppest.
He's ahead of him. I just want to
put
absolutely. He's already ahead of him.
Michigan signed one of the highest recruiting classes ever ranked in the last 20 years. So, I mean, he's not going anywhere. But it's going to be a tight competition. It's probably going to be the most fun this rivalry's been probably since Bo and Woody when they had their run in the 70s where they were just top teams every year just battling out.
I still think
that's how it's going to be.
I still think at this point, if Michigan was to upset Ohio State this year, it'd be an upset. They're not back yet.
Absolutely. I mean,
if they beat them, it'd be a surprise.
Yeah,
so it's
especially being at Ohio State. But I don't know if I'd be shocked that it would happen just because Ohio State's got so many new faces. I think I'm not going to be surprised either way.
If it happened, this would be the year, but that still doesn't mean that Harbaugh is back either. Ohio State lost. They had, 3 top 5, 3 top 10 draft picks this year.
I could definitely see him maybe beating them this year.
They lost a lot.
That'd be interesting. Both guys,
I think well though, man. Ohio State got guys.
Ohio State's got the talent and they're deep. Michigan's getting there. They're probably more ahead on defense right now. I think their defense is already there because he came into a pretty solid defense, and it's going to just get better, especially with the hire of Don Brown, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Their offense just got to catch up, especially the running game. I think if they get the running game going, I'm not really worried about their quarterbacks. He's got a great history of producing quarterbacks and developing them. Whoever the starter is, which they're the only team that hasn't named one yet, and I'm not surprised, he likes to name his right in the start of the game, which I think makes sense. I don't know why more teams don't do it.
You don't want to give the other team an advantage.
Exactly, especially if you got two quarterbacks. One you've seen Joey O'Corn, but he was at Houston, different system, but he has experience. But especially if you got two quarterbacks who got a different skill set, I wouldn't tell anybody. Period. Why? You could tell the team. I mean, I would definitely tell the team so they know who they're going to be behind.
They're probably going to use both depending on who they're playing. Depending on how
they play Hawaii, and we've seen I don't think the way Hawaii's offense looks, I don't think they're going to be able to even probably move the ball on Michigan's defense. So they'll probably both play. Who starts really doesn't matter. They got time to figure out that in a couple weeks before they play Colorado.
The finisher probably get more time than the starter in that game. So
definitely. But
with that being said, I mean, here's a real question. All right, why is it that D'Antonio is getting passed by Harbaugh when D'Antonio is the one that beat Harbaugh last year? He beat Urban Meyer. He won the Big Ten, and they have been dominant. They've been dominating Michigan the last couple of years too.
I mean, I think that as far as both teams, I mean, Michigan State, no one's been a bigger thorn on Urban Meyer's side than Michigan State.
Michigan State's the champs.
They came into Ohio State's house and beat them with two backup quarterbacks.
Right.
So, I mean, but I know why it's that way because Ohio State and Michigan are the cream of they're the biggest tradition.
Yeah.
Michigan State hasn't got. Now, as of what he's done the last 6 years, I mean, 4 of the last 5 years, 11+ win seasons. They've never been at this level.
Right.
But Harbaugh's got a big personality. Everyone knows him. He went to a Super Bowl. So he's got that bigger name than Antonio. And just the program period just got a bigger name than Michigan State. But I think that's why they're getting kind of pushed to the side. They are, but I think that's why they're kind of getting pushed to the side with Urban versus Jim Harbaugh. And then D'Antonio is just over to the side. But in reality, I really don't think he minds it. I think he likes having a chip on his shoulder. I don't think they want to get talked about.
They recruit chip on your shoulder players.
That's exactly. I don't think they want to be picked. I think they love this. They want teams picking them third, only talking about Harbaugh and Urban Meyer. I think they love it, and they feed off of that. So that's why they can pick the other. No one's picking him, and I think he's perfectly fine with that because he knows how to beat both these teams.
Right.
He's got both of them in East Lansing this year. But no one's giving them a chance. I'll be shocked if they lose both of them. They're going to at least split them 2 games. Whether they beat Ohio State or they beat Michigan State, I can see them at least winning 1. They're not going anywhere. I know Michigan fans are thinking Harbaugh's there. D'Antonio is going away. He's never going to go away because Ohio State and Michigan usually recruit different players. They recruit the 4- and 5-star guys. Michigan State is recruiting a little more of them now, but they get them 3-star guys that people aren't going after, and they turn them into 5-star guys. He does it time and time again.
That's the thing. So Harbaugh coming doesn't really affect Michigan State's success.
It'll affect maybe some of his Michigan players, but Michigan State's getting guys and developing anyway. Their style isn't going to change, so it's going to be fun. Them 3 are going to battle it out, but I think
especially when you tell people that recruits, we beat both of them.
Just ignoring Michigan State will be a mistake because they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, especially when you go to recruiting, when you can tell them, hey, listen, you can go to Ohio State, you can go to Michigan, but we beat both of them.
Yeah, these players want to go there, and when these players don't even get offers, and he just goes snags them up, it's like, you can come here and be a superstar. I'll put you in the NFL, and he does it. So
yeah, that's quarterbacks too.
But I don't think he minds being ignored because they get a lot out of it. And he gets his players fired up. You can tell when they're on the field they play with the chip on their shoulder. But
let's jump gears. Let's go to the Big Ten West. We got Iowa who won it, and then we got a good healthy 6. I say 3 or 4 other good teams who can potentially win that conference.
I think it can go 5 deep with teams that can battle out where they're not a huge talent gap between them.
Right.
Where if a player goes down, them other teams can replace them very easily. I don't think the talent gap from Iowa to Minnesota, I'd say they got more talent, but it's not like it's a overwhelmingly big gap between them teams. That's why the other one's got the bigger names, maybe for title contenders, but I look at the Big Ten West, and I think it's going to be more of an exciting race overall, just because all these teams are capable of beating each other. I wouldn't be surprised in Nebraska and Iowa the last game of the year, and it might be the same in the East with Michigan and Ohio State.
Right.
Both them games, Friday, Saturday games, might decide the West and East crown, but
this is going to be an all-year race on both sides. That's why we kind of want to focus just on the Big Ten because, it could be a lot of potential great storylines.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
on either
Wisconsin
side.
May not be playing for a playoff spot, but they might be right in the thick of things at the end of the season. So, I mean, they're playing for the Big Ten West crown, and that's important. So,
I'm going to do my best to follow all these teams this year. I've been used to trying to follow the big names and doing all that, but I want to focus. I think this year, because Ohio State won't be. I don't think Ohio State's going to be as dominant as they've been. Michigan's on the come up. Michigan State, like I said, they are the champs who are getting bypassed by everybody. So it's like it's going to be a lot closer than people think. It's not just going to be, all right, we can pencil Ohio State into the playoffs because I'm not really even ready to start talking about the playoffs yet. We even got to
too early. We got to enjoy it.
We got one game.
So far away. There's a lot goes into that. I think another reason Michigan State's kind of being ignored, they're just talked about. They lost Connor Cook, so they're like, well, we got a fifth-year senior, Tyler O'Connor, who helped beat Ohio State.
Right.
It's not going to. He's kind of not getting the respect he deserves as his staff of developing these quarterbacks. I mean, Brian Hoyer, Kirk Cousins, Connor Cook, all going to be going on. Or Drew Stanton, another guy. They all played in the NFL. And they all came through Michigan State. So it's like they have a great track record of developing quarterbacks. So I'm not really worried about Tyler O'Connor being a good quarterback. He's experienced. Their biggest question mark to me, I think their defense is going to be solid. And it helps, even losing their defense coordinator, Narduzzi, having a defensive-minded coach helps that transition. So I don't think they're going to fall off at all.
Right.
I think it's more going to be their offensive line that might be their downfall and maybe finding some weapons on the outside because they lost the top two targets. But as far as Tyler O'Connor, I think they're going to be fine. But just going back to the Big Ten West, I mean, you can make a case for any one of them teams. I mean, they all got, their question marks, just like anybody else. And Iowa probably has the least amount because they got so many players back. They're probably one of the most experienced teams coming back and got a superstar in C.J. Beathard who might actually be healthy this year. A lot of people don't know he was hurt all year last year, so he wasn't even at full strength.
No, I'm going into this season with no expectations besides everybody being able to. Well, let me see what's the word I'm looking for. I want to see everybody compete at a high level this year. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to. I want to see some great games. I want to see some good matchups.
Regardless of, you might have some great games between teams that aren't maybe having a great season, but enjoy the games for what they are. I mean, Purdue had some great games. Purdue had some upsets. I mean, Illinois and Purdue both beat Nebraska last year. Almost every game Nebraska played last year was a close game. They're all exciting. And they didn't have a good season. That's one reason why I'm kind of looking for Nebraska to turn it around this year. Just so many bad.
Speaking of games, let's go ahead and we got the season starting Thursday for Minnesota and Indiana. Friday, Michigan State plays. And then Saturday, we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other teams playing.
There's 2 more on there, too. But
oh, damn, on the back. My bad. Let's get into it, man. Oregon State and Minnesota.
That's going to be a fun game Thursday night.
Indiana and Florida International.
I don't see much out of that game. I think the way Indiana's turned the curb, and I think Indiana, what they are now is what they're going to be, and I think that's good for the Big Ten, just being a team who's competitive, because I know it's a long time it wasn't that way. They're good enough with that offense, especially if they get a little bit defensive play. They already scared the top 3 teams in the East last year, battling them. They look like they're a team that could play spoiler, so. But I don't think Florida National is giving much trouble. Oregon State, Minnesota will be interesting. Gary Anderson, second year at Oregon State. But I think Minnesota, they're a solid team right now. And even with the new coach, Tracy Claeys, I think with an experienced quarterback, I think that could be a good game. I hope it is, just for case of seeing a good game, because there's not a lot of marquee Big Ten games.
Shout out to Minnesota, too. My sister-in-law, Amber Hamilton, just enrolled with a PhD degree. So I'm definitely going to be on the Minnesota Golden Gopher
Tracy Claeys
bandwagon this year. I'm going to find some players. I'm going to pretend like I like them until she graduates.
That'll be one game you can really kind of get into, because all the games for Minnesota this year. I think all the games Big Ten plays this weekend they're going to be favored, other than Rutgers, Washington. It'd be cool if Rutgers can make that a game.
Right.
I like the direction Chris Ash is taking him in, especially I think he's got a lot of positive momentum right now. And there's a lot of players in New Jersey he can get. If he can just put a fence around New Jersey, that program, I think, has a better chance of getting back better than Maryland. And Illinois is another team I'm really looking forward to seeing, just because.
What Illinois they got Murray State.
Yeah, I think they'll handle them. With Lovie Smith going there, I'm really interested to see what he can do there, because there's talent. You just got to get them players in the Chicago area just to get interested in going to Illinois again. I think Lovie Smith, his name and his experience, he's a guy who could do that.
He coached the Bears.
Yeah, you're not going to go out and get a better coach with a better record.
And more familiar with the area,
exactly, than Lovie Smith. I mean, they got to take advantage of it, because you don't really know how long he's going to be there. If he is successful, he can go take a better job in college. If he wants to go back to the NFL, he definitely could. So
I don't know why that job could be a perfect job.
It can. There's talent there.
Yeah.
It's just
His name is enough alone to make the recruiting classes go up there, man. Yeah. Especially knowing that he coached in the NFL and he knows what it takes to play. So
yeah, that's one team I'm really interested in their progression in the next couple of years because we got 3 new coaches in the conference. So I mean, you got Hawaii, Michigan. I seen what Hawaii was. I think they're going to struggle to even move the ball against Michigan. So Michigan's going to pretty much do what they want. Western Michigan and Northwestern could be a really good game. Western Michigan's one of the top teams in the MAC going into this year. They can score. Northwestern, they got one of the best running backs in Justin Jackson, but it's that early noon kick.
First game
the
of the
MAC
season.
always scare. They always got the MAC teams that'll scare a Big Ten team and beat them. So
you got to think, especially a lot of times with these MAC teams, these are the same kids that these guys played against in high school. Yeah, same area, same region.
And they these games mean a lot to them. Show, we're capable, we're good enough to play on your level. And a lot of these MAC teams, compared to, they're not that far off from maybe in certain positions in some of these Big Ten teams. So I think that game will go a long way on Clayton Thorson can develop this year because he was a true freshman start and he did what he could last year and helped win to a 10-win season. But if he ain't developed enough and then they can't get the offense going, that game could be a very close game because Western Michigan can score some points. But other than that, there's a lot of games. Eastern Kentucky, Purdue. If that was Western Kentucky, I'd probably be a little more worried. I think Purdue should handle that. Bowling Green, who's had a good season last year. It'll be more that game will be interesting as a Big Ten event, just to see how Ohio State, all their players are used because they got so many new faces, but tons of talent all over the field. I'm interested to see what Noah Brown can do. He's a guy I was excited to see last year before he got injured. Curtis Samuel's getting rave reviews as far as being the top playmaker in camp right now.
Yeah, they got a lot of weapons over there. So
it's all going to be, for Ohio State, for me,
I want to see how long, I just want to see how long they keep them on the field in these games to get them ready
you got in a lot of these positions. Yeah, they might name a starter, but
they got
the starter and the backups might not be too far. So you're going to see a lot of guys playing, especially on the D line. But my biggest question mark for them isn't the talent in a lot of the positions. It's more the defensive tackle position. I think that's a position I need to see. The end position, I'm not worried. They got a lot of talent there. Greg Schiano coming in. I think the secondary is going to be exciting. I think they're going to be a lot more aggressive than they were last year. So I'm not really worried about that. Yeah, just playing around the line of scrimmage more and getting in there and getting physical. Between the defensive tackle and just the offensive play calling, I want to see how Tim Beck and Ed Warner are going to be in the booth together.
Last year they looked good, man.
They did, so maybe Tim Beck's going to be a little more familiar with the system.
JT Barrett, he'll have to be worried about splitting time this year and coming off the bench cold.
So I think this team's got to be creative in their play calling. Especially early in the season, you can't just turn around Ezekiel Elliott to hand the ball off and give it to him 30 times, get you 200 yards. You got to be creative. You have the talent. You got a lot of guys who can do multiple things. You got to be creative in your play calling. Open it up. You can't be vanilla. If you be vanilla these first 2 games, which I don't think they will, but you're not going to be ready for Oklahoma because you're not beating Oklahoma. You got to come at it and be open and try everything. And you got players. Let the players be playmakers.
Yeah, you can't go into the Oklahoma game with question marks about who's the starter and who's the main guy and how you're going to run it. You can't go in there trying to wing it.
You got to open it up and not be afraid to take chances. And I think a lot of times last year they're afraid to take chances. In the Michigan State game, they're afraid to take chances. I think maybe Ed Warner going up there. He's got more experience. He'll right the ship. I think they got the talent. That's not going to be the problem.
Yeah, Maryland, Rutgers, Maryland should win that. I mean, Maryland versus Howard, Maryland should win that. Rutgers, Washington, you already talked about that. Iowa, Miami, Ohio.
Iowa, I think, is going to have a really good season this year. They got great running game. They got a lot of players back on defense. Their biggest question mark is just finding a few playmakers on the outside to go along with Vandenberg, who's a great receiver. But I'm
gonna pay a little attention to this Penn State versus Kent State game.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I'm excited to see with Penn State is just the new offense.
Right. I want to see what they're going to do.
They got more of a spread attack. They got a dual threat quarterback.
Right.
It's going to be a different system, and it might help their offensive line just not be as exposed.
More zone blocking and things like that.
Yeah, not having to hold a block for as long, and you got dual threat, and the balls can probably be out a little quicker. They got a stud run. Saquon Barkley had a great season. He's probably going to be better. They're going to open it up. He's got more holes to run through, and he's running into a brick wall because the offensive line can't block very well. So that's going to be interesting. I agree. That's going to be a fun game just to see what their offense looks like. I mean, if their offense can be explosive. The defense was always there. I could definitely see Penn State jumping out and winning 9 games. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Especially depends on what kind of momentum they get with that offense.
Yeah, because they got talent, especially on the outside. They got 3 guys, 3 deep: Hamilton, Godwin, and Blacknell. They got some talent on the outside. And I think with this system,
especially going,
it's going to open it up. Because last year,
some of these Big Ten teams at the top, the Michigan State,
yeah, because I think
you got to spread them out if you're going to have a chance.
Their talent at receiver and running back now can rival a lot of teams. And I think last year they weren't able to see that. Like, they don't have much talent. No, they just didn't protect the quarterback. And Hackenberg, I think, mentally just getting beat up.
Right.
I think it got in his head. And
there was a lot of pressure on him because they expected him to be this top great. Drew Brees.
He came into a hard situation. I think mentally he was just beaten, and I don't think you got to see a lot of the talent they had on the outside. This year, I think you will with this new system. I agree. I'm pumped to see what they look like. Even though it's against Kent State, I just want to see how the offense flows.
One of those MAC teams, man, that you got to look out for, man.
Yeah, and if they'll probably win that game, but they need to be ready because they got that big rivalry game coming up with Pitt, which I think
you don't want
for James Franklin's sake, he's got to win that football game. Yeah, I mean. He ain't on the hot seat yet, but if he has another bad season, he definitely can be, to me. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting game. I'm interested to see what they look like.
Illinois, Murray State, and you got Nebraska and Fresno State. So
Nebraska's got Tommy Armstrong back. They look great in the running the ball in the bowl game. I'm wondering if that's going to be their offense. I hear they're going to move towards more of a short passing game. Because if they can take care of the ball, that was their biggest problem last year. If they can take care of the ball and Tommy don't turn the ball over. They got probably the best receiver in the Big Ten, Western Camp. They got some talent. So if their offense can take care of the ball, I think their defense is going to be all right if they can get some good defensive line play. But they're going to be a threat. I think they're going to be a threat for Iowa. I wouldn't be surprised if that last game of the season decides the Big Ten West. And so it'll be interesting. I think Nebraska's was a lot better talent-wise than what their record showed last year. So I got to feel some of them close games and them bad bounces got to turn their way. It has to. So, yeah, there's a lot of good storylines. There might not be some big marquee games, but there's a lot of things going into this game just to see what these teams look like. Because with new coaching, new styles, it'll be interesting to see what they turn out to be and what we see in the first 2 games. A lot of new faces. So,
yeah, All right, well, that's a good stopping part right there. We'll go ahead and close it out this week. Ain't really much to talk about because the season ain't started yet. 1 game that wasn't even Big Ten, so... let us know how you guys like the show. If you like it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you don't, hit the like button anyway and just talk about us off camera.
Just something fun for us to do, a little show. I mean, we talk football at work anyway, so just some cool little thing we're going to do. We're going to watch all these games, and we'll have more to talk about next week when we actually have some football games.
Right.
And get to know some of these teams a little better.
And we're going to, as the season goes on, the show's going to get a little bit better. This is our first show. We're just starting out. We got a lot of ideas and plans we're going to put into place. If you guys want to talk to us and ask us any questions or want us to shout you out or say something about your team, we're going to go to a couple games anyway, so it'd be nice if some of y'all want to meet up. Y'all can buy us dinner, lunch, a hotel, give me some gas money.
Especially if we go to some of these games, we're going to need a lot of gas
Send
money.
us some of your team shirts. We'll wear them. Unless you're a Michigan fan, we won't wear that shit. All right.
Yeah, we have to stop it somewhere.
All right.
We'll talk about Michigan. We can't really mirror some maize and blue. Just don't feel right.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at itsreallyhim614.
I'm at Leland 5150.
All right, we're gonna post about once a week, so we're looking forward to hear from you guys. I don't even care if you got negative stuff to say.
Hey,
I'll fight you.
Nothing wrong with
I will fight you.
criticism.
No, I will fight you. I definitely will. And I really don't have a problem fighting. Unless you're bigger than me, I won't fight you. But
I won't fight you.
Anybody small,
he's scared
I'll
of my
fight
kids.
you. All right.
Those kids are wrestlers. He's scared of them. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, unless you're his kids, I won't fight them. But that's for another day. All right.
And on a side note,
enjoyed it.
Go Tribe.
Go Reds. Big Ten. You just watched the first episode of First in the Big Ten.
The Big Ten.
We